This is good, Jake. You're quite a barbecue chef. What fascinates me is how you got it blood raw on one side and charred to a crisp on the other. What is this? What is this, dirt?
Hey, welcome back to Sambo's Place, and thanks for checking in. I appreciate all you people for joining the channel and watching to see what we got going on here. I'm just an average guy, a dad, a teacher who decided to put my thoughts and my reviews on YouTube, and I appreciate you guys checking in. So here I am sitting here all filthy because I just took a deep clean of our brand new Searwood XL600, and I'm going to share with you thoughts. Excuse my allergies today. I'm going to share with you my thoughts of being married to this for the past 3 weeks and doing almost 40 hours of grilling, griddling, and smoking on this pit, and sharing with you what I think are some advantages to it and maybe some things that leave me scratching my head. I don't know, maybe the engineers got so excited over their diffuser that they went out and had a few drinks at lunch and came back and forgot to do some serious planning on some other things. We'll talk about grease mitigation, we'll talk about ash mitigation, we'll compare it to the smoke fire, which I had almost a year experience with, and let's take a deep dive inside this pit and take a look. Come on, let's get filthy. So here we have the Searwood XL600 after nearly 40 hours of use without cleaning. That includes the burn-in, that includes the biscuit test, that includes grilling, griddling, smoking, you name it. We're talking 30 plus, nearly 40 hours of getting this pit filthy. And this is what you could expect. And initially I thought the smoke fire was going to be difficult to clean up until one of my subscribers suggested, hey, use an old paintbrush. And I did. And then I never had to use a vacuum again. So let's compare this and see just how much vacuuming we have to do compared to what we can do with a paintbrush. Okay, here's our diffuser. And this just lifts off the Searwood. And let's see. Wow. Look, holy moly, look at all that ash and soot that accumulated. Wow. Up in that diffuser. And it's still coming out. So I'm assuming here, Sambo, that you probably need to attend to that diffuser a little more often than 40 hours. But that's what we got. I mean, holy moly, look at that ash buildup. Whew. Lots. In fact, let me see if we could just remove these wing nuts here. And let's see if that'll give us an easier clean. Maybe we won't have to vacuum it. Maybe we could just lift this up. Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that. Okay. Look at that. Just lift it off, clean out the firebox. And I got to tell you something right now that I didn't do before I got rid of my smoke fire was I didn't measure the firebox depth, nor did I measure the diameter. But I got to tell you right now, looking at this firebox that comes on the Searwood, it's much larger than the smoke fire. I mean, it's a bigger diameter. It's much deeper. And I'm sure that's going to attribute it directly to the engineering for the manual mode so that they produce more heat. Bigger fire means more heat. So yeah, that's quite a substantial firebox right there. So far, it looks like we could clean this out without a shop vac. Okay, what do we got here? We got I don't know what that is, but that's a chunk. I guess that's a chunk of grease right there. Chunk of grease. Take these wing nuts out so we don't lose them, because I love to lose things. So after sweeping out the barrel, or the bottom half of the pit, apparently our grease is going to accumulate along the side edges, more towards the back. But then again, because I smoke on the upper wrap, that makes more sense that most of the grease is going to accumulate here. But I'm going to take this off the tripod and I'm going to kind of zoom in down here. Okay, this is all brushed out, and you can see there's nothing really in that firebox chamber, and all the grease has accumulated across the back. Okay, once that lower diffuser is removed, that's what we're looking at. There's some grease down in the bottom, and there's ash that needs to be swept down into the ash pan. We're going to take care of that and show you what we have accumulated. I'm going to show you this. Here's the grease pan removal, and not a lot of grease. The grease mitigation system in this, it doesn't quite make it to the pan. I'm going to show you where most of the grease ends up. Most of the grease ends up in the back corner along that edge where that lower diffuser sits. As I was cleaning off the diffuser, I started to think about grease fires down there because it's right by the firebox. And even though heat rises, it's still got to get pretty hot down there. So I'm just curious what the future is going to tell if I don't keep this completely immaculately clean. So here's our ash pan after nearly 40 hours of smoking and cooking. A lot of grease caught in there. Some of that has been scraped down from the barrel. Here's a tip. Put your grease pan back in place on the bottom before you remove your ash pan, because Sambo Dumbo didn't, and I had a nice spill on top of my griddle, so now I got to get the vacuum out. But that's what I guess you could expect after 30 to 40 hours. Okay, back to the ash pan. A lot of grease accumulated in this ash pan and did not make it down to the grease tray. That's how much grease I scraped out of the ash pan, and it's now down in the grease tray. And my ash pan is now pretty clean after using 2 or 3 pieces of paper towels to wipe it clean. I think it's going to be very important to keep the grease out of that ash pan. Okay, so we got it all cleaned out. Let's talk about some pros and cons of owning the Weber Searwood XL for the past 3 weeks. Pros: I think it heats up quicker than the Smokefire. It has a much larger and completely stainless steel fire pot. It's deeper, it's wider, it creates bigger fires. It has that massive hunk of diffuser to throw the heat. It has one flavorizer bar and diffuser on top to deal with instead of the multiple ones on the Smokefire. We've seen through my biscuit test that it heats up really evenly with the roasting hood down, and it heats up that griddle in about 12 to 15 minutes. So advantages: you got better fuel efficiency. It uses much less pellets than the Smokefire did. It uses less pellets than my Pit Boss did, as a matter of fact. It has a great cooking surface with even heat all throughout. You can griddle on it, you can grill on it, you can sear on it. It's a Weber. It has great customer service, and if you've been following my channel, you all know what I went through with the Smokefire and how they went out of their way to appease me and getting me a Searwood as quickly as possible. So I can't say enough about that. Now, I'm waiting for this biker to leave here. So what pisses me off about the Searwood? The cable management on this thing is nothing. I mean, it's nothing. At least on the Searwood, you got a dangling Velcro strap that you could have tied up your loose ends and looped it around with. You don't even have a Velcro strap on this. I had to use the back brackets that they have there for the upper rack to use for my cable management system. So that sucks. These 3 nipples over here, I call them the teats of hell on the hopper for your tools. I mean, they're ridiculous. They're damn near useless, because if you buy the cover, when you go to pull the cover off, the tools just fall off and hit the ground, and now you got to go clean them up again. So those things over there are damn near useless. Tool management, Weber. Cable management. Anyway. Fuel efficiency, thumbs up on that. Ease of use of filling this hopper. That Smokefire was a piece of garbage. I mean, everybody complained about that thing. Even though it made it look really contemporary and sleek and everything, the hopper fill on this is fantastic. The feed has been very good right now. Another pro to this, you can't hear this pit hardly at all. And my hearing is going as I'm getting older, but I'm telling you right now, this thing is so quiet. You have to get within 10 to 15 feet to even hear the fan blowing on this. So it's very efficient. The fan is quiet. You have a big diffuser. You got a Weber product. You have the enamel coating on it like you do all your other grills. It's not bad looking. I think the Smokefire was much sexier, much more contemporary in styling, and I've mentioned that in the past. Another car. I guess I need one of those directional microphones, I guess. Anyway, the ash mitigation, the grease mitigation on this, I'll give it about a 55 score out of 100, 55%. So, you know what, Weber, you're right below failing on this, in my opinion. The ash doesn't blow all over the place like it did on the Smokefire. It doesn't blow into your cooks like it did on the Smokefire. I'll say that's an advantage. But in terms of it making it down into that, you know, GT500 style big oil pan ash tray down the bottom, nah, it doesn't really make it down there. But you know what does make it down into that pan? The grease makes it down into that pan. And that scares me because there's a lot of heat down in the bottom of this pit with that oversized firebox. So I wouldn't suggest running 30, 40 hours without cleaning out this pit. And I'm making a mental note not to do that because I'm pushing the possibility of grease flare-ups and grease fires down in the bottom of that pit by letting it accumulate down there. So ash mitigation doesn't blow all over your food, doesn't always make it down into the pan. Grease mitigation, I'm sorry, Weber, it's not making it down into that that little foil catch pan on the bottom of the I call it the oil pan reservoir down on the bottom of this pit. It's just not. And I even ruined my clean out brush with the amount of grease in it. I threw it in the garbage, and I used that clean out brush for 8 months on the Smokefire. I do one clean on this and the brush is gone. So again, there's that muscle memory thing. You know, the more you do things, the more you put things together, the more you use it, the better you become at being practical, problem solving with the beast. So again, time will tell. I'll probably figure out a much effective and efficient way of cleaning out this pit as I use it more often. So one more thing I want to talk about, and I forgot to mention this, and this is a pro and a con. Pro, bottom shelf, much more stable, leg stability, able to move it around, storage possibilities endless underneath there. There's enough room. However, the cover from Weber is hot garbage. It's, again, I don't know what the hell the engineers were thinking. It needs to be 2 inches longer and lower because it doesn't cover up the lower shelf. And all it's been doing here is raining for 2 weeks, and all it's been doing is raining on my shelf. And even though that Weber griddle says it's rust resistant, it's not rust proof. Thank you, subscriber, for pointing that out. So you can't store your pellets under there. You can't store anything that's going to rust under there because it's going to get wet. I'm already researching a generic one based on the measurements of this pit so I could get one to cover the bottom shelf. Otherwise, what's the use of using it? I mean, what's the use of the shelf? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I like to complain. Maybe I'm not happy unless I'm miserable. But I got to point these things out and be objective to you guys. But hey, listen, thanks again for checking into Sambo's Place. Really appreciate all the support. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, maybe something I missed, maybe something I did wrong, maybe something I could do better based on your experiences, put them in the comments down below. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Sambo out.